What it's like to launch yourself on this zip line, reaching up to 140 kilometers per hour, or to cross one of the living bridges over stormy rivers. Today we will talk about the country, which did not allow anyone to enter or leave it until 1950. This, of course, is Nepal. Get ready to learn more about the home of Everest and the challenging heights of the Himalayas. Before that, write a quick comment about which country you want to make a 50 facts video about. You decide entirely. The Federal Republic of Nepal is located in the southern part of Asia and is squeezed between two major countries, India and China. There is no access to the sea, but there is access to the majestic Himalayas. The name of the country, Nepal, literally translates as sacred cave. There are, of course, many caves in Nepal, but it is not known which one it is named after. Although its area is 147,000 square kilometers, which is similar to the size of Greece, the average altitude of Nepal is 3,265 meters, or over 10,000 feet. That makes it the second highest ranked country by altitude in the entire world after Bhutan, which is number 1 in the chart. Nepal's population is just over 30 million and growing. The interesting thing there is that the average age is only 24 years old, so they have a super young population. Just for comparison, in Japan, the average age is 49 years. However, the Nepalese are not particularly well educated, sorry to put it this way. They rank 164th out of 177 countries in literacy, which is pretty bad, by the way. The reason for this is that a huge number of children do not finish school, or do not go to school at all because they have to start working. All people from Nepal must know Nepali, of course, and Indian, which is very similar. More than half of their TV channels there are in Indian, anyways. Otherwise, they also study English, and everyone speaks it freely there. We can safely say that they leave high school with as many as 3 languages. Listen to how the Nepali sounds.
9 years भयो न्युयोर्कमा बसेको अनि नेपालमा हुँदा म एउटा
Over 80% of the people there are Hindu, and their cities are full of temples. They even define themselves as an Hindu kingdom. And today, they have the highest percentage of Hindus per capita in the world. Nepal's climate does not vary with latitude like most countries, but with altitude. A large part of their cities are located above 1,000 meters. There are as many as 6 climate zones distributed by altitude. They start from tropical at the lowest all the way to polar, beginning from 4,000 meters up. The history of Nepal is not that long and complicated. They were a monarchy for most of their existence. From 1996, a movement began to transform Nepal into a people's republic and impose communism. Then it gets really scary. A civil war broke out in the country, claiming 16,000 lives. But in the end, the monarchy remained. Only in 2008 was the country restructured into a democracy, and since then, things have been calmer. The most interesting thing is that from 1816 until 1950, Nepal was completely closed to the outside world. From the 1960s, tourism began to slowly gain strength, perhaps why the country is so untouched. The capital and largest city of Nepal is Kathmandu, with a population of nearly 2 million people, with its surroundings. Translated, Kathmandu means wooden shelter, and is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in Asia. There you can find the greatest concentration of natural and cultural sites protected by UNESCO. Out of 10, 7 are located within a radius of only 15 kilometers, which is a kind of record. The official currency there is the Nepalese rupee, one of which equals only 0.7 cents. In general, however, the prices there are cheap. Bread costs about 30 cents, a liter of fresh milk about $1, gasoline costs $3 per gallon. Unlike nearby Bhutan, which became the first carbon-neutral nation in the entire world, Nepal has very serious problems with deforestation. It causes unprecedented erosion and massive landslides. In addition, there is the total destruction of ecosystems. Nepal remains one of the poorest countries in the world, with more than half the population living below the poverty line. This forces poor people to look for a future and livelihood in neighboring countries, most often India. Geographically, Nepal is similar in shape with Portugal, only horizontally located, with a third of its territory occupied by the Himalayas, the youngest mountain range on Earth, only about 70 million years old. There, of course, lies the highest peak on the planet, Mount Everest, with its 8,848 meters, which is over 29,000 feet. Did you know that Nepal's border with China passes right through the peak, or rather with Tibet? As you know, things are a bit more complicated there. Write to me in the comments if you want facts about Tibet. Everest is climbed mainly from the southern side, the Nepalese side, where most of the camps are located. It can, of course, also be climbed from the northern Tibetan side, but it is significantly riskier from there. Did you know that Everest's real name is actually Chuma Lungma to the Tibetans, which translates to Mother Goddess of the World? For the Nepalese, it is called Sagarmata, which translates as the forehead of heaven. The name Everest was given by the British in honor of their Surveyor General of India, George Everest. Nepal is known as the land of 8,000ers, as 8 of the world's 14 highest peaks are located there. However, climbing each of these 8,000ers is quite an expensive undertaking. For example, for Everest, it costs about $60,000 per person with all taxes, guides, and equipment. Nepal is home to the world's deepest valley, the Kali Ganges, Daki River excavated canyon with a depth of 5,500 meters or 18,000 feet. By the way, of all parts of the country, this valley is famous as your most fertile region. This on your screen is the birthplace of Buddha himself. Yes, it is located in Nepal, although today it is a Hindu country. Actually, did you know that Buddha was a Hindu who just decided to create his own religion? And that's how he gained a lot of followers. There are several unique animal species in the country, which are unfortunately threatened with extinction today. These are the Indian rhinoceros, the Royal Bengal tiger, and of course, the snow leopard. Nepal is very famous for its army, known as the Gurkhas. Their soldiers have won the respect of the whole world. They are extremely well prepared physically, mentally, and strategically. Their motto, by the way, is eloquent enough: better die rather than live as a coward. Did you know that the Gurkhas work for hire in the Indian and British armies, and according to them, they are the most loyal part of the army? To this day, they remain Britain's only non-indigenous military units. Nepalese are not particular fans of varied cuisine. On the contrary, steamed rice with lentil stew are eaten there every day by them. It may seem gross to us, but they consider it divine and eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, sometimes indulging in pickles with it. Hey, give a like on the video and let's continue with more interesting facts about Nepal. Did you know that Nepal is the only country in the whole world whose flag is not rectangular or square? Its shape is a combination of 2 triangles placed on top of each other, with the moon on the top and the sun on the bottom. 2 main theories revolve around the symbolism of the flag itself. One is a symbol of the calm nature and the other of the fighting nature of the Nepalese. Another theory is the confidence of the country that it will be preserved as long as the sun and the moon exist. The people of Nepal have a very ancient, rather interesting and somewhat controversial custom. Every year, the population there chooses a prepubescent girl to become their goddess, or, as they call it, Kumari, translated from their language as a virgin. The chosen one is immediately considered an incarnation of the Hindu goddess Lhu, and is celebrated among the people as a living deity. People take care of her like a princess, and she lives in a castle. As soon as her first menstruation occurs, however, the people choose a new goddess. The search and selection process is quite complicated and is performed only by women. This is the shortest man in the world called Chandra. He is actually a Nepalese farmer and is only 54.6 centimeters tall or 1.7 feet. There is footage of him with the tallest man on the planet right now. Did you know that cows in Nepal, as well as in other Hindu countries, are considered sacred animals, and killing them for any purpose is completely prohibited? However, there are certain areas with Buddhist societies where beef is imported and consumed peacefully. One of the most extreme zip lines on the planet is located in Nepal. It is 1.8 kilometers long and descends at a slope of 56 degrees. In case you are going to Nepal and decide to try it, keep in mind that its speeds reach up to 140 kilometers per hour, or around 90 miles per hour. Did you know that the Nepalese don't have an Independence Day because they were never fully colonized or conquered? In the past, of course, the country was repeatedly attacked by giants like China, or was under the influence of large-scale empires, but the people held the front. If you happen to decide to visit Nepal, you will literally find yourself in the future. The official calendar of the country is that of Vikram. It is 56 years and 8 months ahead of the Gregorian calendar. According to it, Nepal is in the year of 2080. One of the spectacular sports of Nepal is polo with elephants. It is absolutely identical to ordinary polo, but instead of horses, the competitors ride elephants. The country hosts the World Cup every year and you will be surprised, but countries like Scotland, India, England, and Thailand participate. The country is home to a famous local population, the Sherpas. This is a tribe that has lived high in the Himalayas for many years and are known as the best and most durable climbers in the entire world. Their organism has somehow strangely adapted to the extremely high living conditions. For example, their respiratory and cardiovascular systems do not need as much oxygen as ours to function normally. This, as you can imagine, helps them a lot in surviving at that altitude, as we've seen in the movies. They earn their living most often as guides, accompanying other climbers or as carriers of heavy backpacks. In 2015, if you remember, the country was rocked by a powerful earthquake with a magnitude of 7.6. Nepal is located at the foothills of the Himalayas, which are formed by the collision of two powerful tectonic plates. The earthquake I mentioned killed 6,600 people, and the country still hasn't fully recovered from it. Many of the higher settlements there are only accessible by animals such as horses and donkeys. Even if there are some roads, they look pretty creepy, as you can see on your screens. If you want to learn interesting facts, subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell. Thanks! Telling someone they are fat is not an insult in Nepal. If a person there is overweight, according to the Nepalese, he eats very healthily and has solid finances to have a good meal every night. To say it in other words, for them, fat people are financially beautiful. The Nepalese do not shake hands, nor they kiss each other for greeting. Instead, they put their palms together in front of their face and say namaste, which literally translates to, I honor the divine in you, or I bow to you. Did you know there are no trains in Nepal? The terrain there is just terrifyingly complex. Their only railway line is 50 kilometers long and is actually shared with India. It connects two cities and can transport residents between the two countries. Although polygamy, or one man having many wives, has been banned in Nepal since 2017, there are still areas in the state where it is practiced. However, they also have something else called polyandria, that is, one woman with many men. This is what we call equality. There are even cases where the woman's husband himself arranges for second and third men for his own wife, because he has to travel often. In Nepal, the time zone is very strange. They are 5 hours and 45 minutes ahead of Greenwich. Now we are used to round hours or halves, but I have never seen quarters and 45 minutes. In Nepal, there are living bridges over rivers. They are a specialty of the Khasi tribe and are made from tree roots. These bridges, as you can imagine, are constantly growing and changing as local people continue to weave them together. Nepal is home to many high mountain lakes, such as Tilicho, which is at 4,919 meters, or Carrera, which literally captivates with its fabulously crystalline waters. High in the Himalayas are also the famous Mustang Caves, which number over 10,000. They were handmade about 3,000 years ago, and to this day researchers find mummified bodies in them. When visiting any landmark in Nepal, and especially their temples, you should always view them clockwise. They also allow the rotation of these prayer cylinders, and their movement must also be clockwise. Give a thumbs up if you liked the video and subscribe to the channel if you want more interesting facts. Thank you for watching. See you next time.